Okay, so today what I wanted to do was spend some time diving into the Overdrive pedal models that are available on the Quad Cortex. I've been focusing mostly over the last couple of weeks on getting to know the amp models, and I wanted to kind of dive into some of the Overdrive pedals as well. I will say, so for today, I'm mostly going to focus on using the Overdrive pedal models into a clean patch. It kind of sounds like this. I might do a separate video that talks about using the Overdrive pedals into more driven amp models. But for today, we're going to focus on into a clean sound. I'm also mostly going to focus just on the kind of lower gain and mid gain drive pedals. There are some good kind of high gain drive pedals in here, but I'm not sure personally how much I would use those. If I'm going for that kind of sound, I think I would use one of the higher gain amp models. So for example, I don't think I'd use the Freeman Overdrive pedal when I can just go use the Freeman amp model. So, I mean, maybe there might be a reason for using the Overdrive pedal. Perhaps if you've got, a single preset you're trying to make super flexible for live situations or something like that. But for me, who mostly just kind of plays at home and maybe records it on my computer or something like that, I don't know that I would use those pedals. So I'm not really going to dive too deep into those. We're going to focus mostly, like I said, on the low and the mid gain pedals. So the preset setup I have here is we have just a basic gate on the front just to keep things tidy. I've got, on this patch, I've got a few Overdrive pedals that are all kind of built into different stomp switches just so we can switch between them and try them out. And then for my bass tone, I'm running 2 amps. I've got a Lone Star Tweed running here and a Marshall JTM 45. Both of those are going into 4x10s, the Mesa into a Mesa cabinet, and the Marshall into a Marshall cabinet. And then just a mono tape delay and a plate reverb just to kind of give it some ambience. So again, here's what that clean tone sounds like. And let's dive into our first set of Overdrive pedals. So on this patch, and all these patches will be uploaded to my Neural account. I'll have the info for that in the description. And for today's demo, I'm running a kind of a homemade parts caster. It has a kind of a Strat neck pickup, but a humbucker in the bridge, so we can kind of try both of those. This patch, I've got a Marshall Blues Breaker running. I've got, I believe this is an RC booster, and then a tube screamer. So let's check these out. So let's start with the Blues Breaker. So again, here's our clean tone. And let's try the Blues Breaker. Nice, just kind of low overdrive sound. You can see here, I mean, I've got the gain and the volume up quite a bit on this. There's not tons of drive in this. It's a very low gain sound, and it's not super thick, but it's got some nice kind of dynamics to it. So that's with the neck pickup. If you go to the bridge. Obviously, when you give it a little more push from the pickup, you get a little more drive. So I think that one works well just for kind of a light bluesy kind of gain tone. If you switch to the RC booster, let me switch over there so you can see how it's set. This one has a little more gain to it. It's also, got a little more bass to it, so I've got the bass rolled off a little bit here, but here it's that. So again, a lot more bass in this one, and kind of more volume on tap. So interesting. I know it's my favorite, but it works pretty well. And then the tube screamer. With the bridge pickup, there's a little more bite on the tube screamer. So I think that works pretty well. I think of the three, I think the tube screamer is my favorite. So let's continue on and maybe try a couple more. On this patch, I've got the Marshall Governor, which is a higher gain, a little bit of a higher gain pedal, and then I've got a Myth Drive, which is kind of the QC's clone. I think it's based on a Mythos, but let's check these out. So, I think it's a good kind of mid-gain, gives a nice kind of amp, kind of crunch to it with a little, good for, I think it's really good for rhythms. It's nice and thick. The 3-band EQ makes it kind of easy to dial in things. It does have that Marshall top end, maybe that you want to tame a little bit. So let's try out our clone here. So with the bridge pickup there, it's got a good amount of bite. So it's okay. I've owned a Mythos and I've had a J-Rocket Archer and whatnot. I don't love the Myth Drive model on the QC, but I mean it works well enough. But it's definitely kind of not my favorite. So that's that one. So if we move on to the next patch here, I've got a Chief BD2, which is the blues driver, and Obsessive drive, which is the full sound OCD. So let's check out the blues driver. So the blues driver is nice. Again, it's to me, it's a lot of these pedals start to sound the same after a little while, but this one kind of has a nice grit to it. And then the Obsessive drive, which is the OCD, which is in kind of the real world, is one of my favorite overdrive pedals. I've got this running in the HP mode, So I'm dialing the tone back a little bit, and the drive's not pushed too much, but it's got a nice just clarity to it. So here, again, I don't know if I like this as much as I like the real pedal, at least that I've used before. I will say if you saw my video on kind of some of the lead tones, I was using this as kind of the front to push a driven amp for the lead tone, and it works really well for that. Here on its own, I'm not sure I like it quite as much. And then last but not least, I've got the Nobel OD1 and the OD250. So, you know, the OD1 is definitely its own thing and has that real kind of smooth. Definitely, you can see here I got the spectrum turned. I find that both of these pedals seem a little darker than some of the others. So the OD1 I like a lot. It's again, it's a real nice kind of rhythm. And then the OD250, you can hear it sounds like maybe it's a little fuller in the mid range, but also I think the Nobel has a little more clarity to it. So that one works. I've also seen this one used in front of driven amps. I don't like it as much in terms of driven amps just because the top end on this, if you push it into a drive amp, tends to get a little fizzy for me. But on its own, again, I think it's okay. It's not my favorite. Of these two, I think I like the OD1 better. So that was a quick walkthrough of some of the pedals kind of in this range that I think worked well. You know, of the ones that are on here, again, I think the Tube Screamer of these three is the one I like the best. On these two, the Governor and the Myth Drive, I mean, I guess the Governor's nice. The Myth Drive, I like the sound, but it for me, it doesn't compare well with what the pedal sounds like in real life, at least to me. These two, the Blues Drive and the Obsessive Drive, I think both are really good options. And then, you know, these two, the OD1 is really nice, and the OD250 is good, but I like the OD1 a little better. So anyway, hopefully you found this kind of quick run through helpful. Again, you can download these patches and play with them yourselves, and leave a comment about which ones kind of you like the best. Anyway, thanks for watching.